Hey guys, it's Kim and I'm back today with another review and 50-50 guess about what it's going to be about. A. Superman. B. Superman. C. Superman. D. Something with Superman in it. Ding ding ding! It's just Superman. Today I am reviewing Superman, the main running Superman title, Volume 2, Secrets and Lies. Now I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars and I know a lot of people have rated it much lower because they don't really like how slow it's taking off. But honestly, they really want to make this a long-running title. I can see this happening. So you really don't want to be giving away big storylines at the beginning. I know you have to draw people in, but giving away all these big things at the beginning just doesn't... They want to develop into all these sort of character weavings into all these like arcs, and you can't really do that if you give away everything at the beginning, you know? Just don't give out that booty. So I really like this book, even though it doesn't have as many epic storylines as the Red Sun novel that's come out, you know, The Death of Superman, all of those ones, Kingdom Come. I mean, there's really epic stories going through, but people have to remember that's a one-off story. This one's continuing, so don't expect some huge epic stories in this volume because there's a few fun stories that kept me going. That's why I still rated it 4 out of 5 stars. So if you're going to pick this up, don't expect some huge epic storylines because, as I said, they're just beginning, they're weaving into their storylines, and really at the moment they're focusing mostly on smaller villains and then leading into Clark's life. His normal life, the Daily Planet, dealing with his friends and family and all of that. That's mostly what this comic is about, weaving in with how he deals with his alter ego as Superman. Now, probably the biggest villain we have been introduced to in this volume is a character called Hellspawn. Now, I really like the character design of Hellspawn. He is just epically drawn and I love his character and outfit design. He reminds me of a more sort of alien-ish Ghost Rider. Made him look more demonic because he is apparently from this race called the Demonites. So I think they've done their best to make him sort of look like a devilish demon sort of character. But this Hellspawn has been sending villains to Superman and sort of pushing him onto the trail to find and come see Hellspawn, who is exiled in the Himalayas. And from here his little plan works and Superman comes to find him in the Himalayas, and we get to learn a little bit more about Hellspawn's backstory. Now apparently he's come from this species called the Demonites, who have exiled him because he was feared throughout the world. Which is pretty obvious here because he's pretty cray-cray. So completely set on revenge, he has been trying to recruit all these metahumans, and Superman is included in this. Of course, Superman doesn't want anything to do with this mentally challenged demon guy from this species, Demonites, Hellspawn, which is a really cool name if you think about it. But he wants nothing to do with this, so basically they brush off the storyline at the beginning because I think it was just more of a character introduction and they will flush him out a bit later, because as you can understand this was released in issues, so I guess it makes more sense if you're reading it monthly or weekly, whenever. Monthly I think for this comic. If you're reading it monthly, I'm sure you'd be able to digest the storyline a lot quicker than reading the graphic novel and being like, why did they just leave it there, you know? So reading this novel you may think it jumps around a little bit, but it's only because originally, of course, it was released in issues. Now we saw some other stuff happening in this volume as well. As I said, it's not focused mainly on Hellspawn. When his first introduction is created, they move more into weaving Clark into his life in Metropolis and in the Daily Planet, and they really balance on the idea of Superman and Clark Kent and their dual identities. Throughout this, the next sort of story that they touch upon is a character called Spence Becker has actually been exposed as being Superman. So people think that this character, Spence Becker, is Superman, when obviously he's not, he's Clark Kent, and everyone believed it to be true. So of course this puts Spence Becker and his family into a huge amount of danger, and it feels more like a little bit of a filler story, but I think it adds on to that element of Superman's story in a whole, you know, why he has to keep his two identities separate, Superman and Clark Kent. Of course, he's one person, but keeping them separate keeps all of his friends and family safe and happy, and there's a main reason why he does it. And I think this filler story sort of reminds us about the point of his character. The fun part that I liked about this little filler story is that Lucy Lane finally got introduced into this series. Lucy Lane is Lois's sister, and I think we've yet to see her come into this series, so it was good to see her pop in, if only for a little bit, just to sort of brush upon. We're getting more characters from the Superman world, and you can see that this series is really progressing. Now, towards the end of this volume, they finally bring back in Hellspawn, and of course he's got a whole lot of metahumans set up, and they're battling Superman, and he's become really powerful, this Hellspawn character, that Superman is overwhelmed by everything that he does. Now, a fun little guest star we got in this section, he wasn't in it a whole lot, but at least we got introduced to him in this comic, was J'onn J'onzz, who is aka Martian the Manhunter, who I've been a huge fan of since I started watching Smallville. And when he came into Smallville, because I didn't know a lot about him, I just knew he existed. So since Smallville, I've learned a little bit more about him. So I was really excited to see him come into this and finally connect with Superman in this story. Not giving away too much on this volume, it does at the end a little bit of a cliffhanger for the story, but it is still a really good read. As I said, I rated it a 4 out of 5 stars. I know a lot of people rated it much lower, as I have seen other people rating it on Goodreads and on YouTube, but really, I don't know. I mean, obviously it's not as good as some other Superman stories that are out there, but for me, the continuation of this is more exciting to me than just reading a one-off Superman story. I want to read a continual Superman story and just see everything about him be pushed into this comic, which I can see slowly getting fleshed out. So I'm very excited about this series continuing, and I rate this 4 out of 5 stars. So thank you so much for watching today, guys. I will see you very soon. Bye-bye.